Wildlife introduction and its terms. So let's see first the terms. So if you see the term wildlife, what does it mean? Wildlife means there are actually some definitions are also given in the act, as well as some special rules are following for these wildlife term. So we are going to see in this PPT that what kind of the rules and what kind of the conditions will apply for this term. So let's see. So all wild and undomesticated animals means which are not pet, okay, not domesticated. Likewise, if there is a dog which is pet dog, so it will be not counted in the wildlife. Next, non-cultivated life forms. If there is agriculture farm, it will be not counted as wildlife. If it is non-cultivated, means it is already growing by default in the nature, then it will be called as wildlife in their natural habitat. If it is not in natural habitat, we are collecting the animals and placing them into zoo, and or we are uh, doing we are growing or culturing the plants in the laboratory or in our farm, then they will be not called as uh, uh, wildlife, because says that if they are in the natural habitat, then we will tell them as the wildlife. Otherwise it is not wild. Okay, we have sometimes we can say that we have changed their habitat and we have created some kind of the artificial habitat. But if you see the act, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, in that there is a in the amendment it is given that if a artificial habitat is there, then it will be counted. But we generally says that okay, they should be live in the natural habitat, but it doesn't mean that we are culturing in a lab, it will be counted in the wildlife. No, it will be not counted. Okay, so basically, all fauna and flora in their natural habitat, if they are living or growing by default naturally, then they will be called as wildlife. Okay, let's see the next. What Wildlife Protection Act, or WLPA or WPA 1972 says. So if you go through the Wildlife Protection Act, then you will find that there is a definition section. Actually, every act has its definition section, and generally it is the second section is the definition. Its second section is the definition section. So I gone through the definition section, and then I found that there are some terms which are described. So I have just copied from there and mentioned the reference of that section and their clauses. So you can see that in which section, in which clause, what kind of the definition is given. So let's see all these definitions. I have not changed any a single word so that you can get the correct definition of that which is given in that act. Okay. So first definition was given for the wildlife. It includes any animal, aquatic or land vegetation, which forms any part of any habitat. Okay. So we are including both animal as well as vegetation, whether they are living in aquatic or whether they are living in the land or terrestrial region. Okay. Or in any habitat. Okay. They are, if they are part of any habitat, they will be called as wildlife. Okay. This is mentioned in the section 2, clause 37. Next definition is wild animals. Wild animal means any animal. If we are talking about the wild animal only, then what is the animal mean? Animal is specified in the schedules first to four. Actually, there are some schedule. You whenever you will see the Wildlife Protection Act, then in the last you will find the schedules. which are given there, and some animals are also mentioned in particular and this schedule, and there are some terms and conditions which are given for their protection and all these things. So schedule first to four and found wild in nature, so they will be called as wild animals. It is according to section 2 clause 36. Next, section 2 clause 1 is saying about the animal. So what does animal mean? If we are saying the animal using the word animal in the wildlife, then what does it mean? So animal includes amphibians, birds, mammals, and reptiles, and their youngs, and also includes in the cases of birds and reptiles their eggs as well. Okay, so eggs, youngs, all are included in this because they are in the wild. They are already in the natural habitat. Okay, or in their nature. So they are also part of the animal. Okay, so they are comes under the animals. Okay. Next, habitat. Habitat includes land, water, or vegetation, which is in the natural home of the any wild animal. Okay. So if any wild animal is there and in their home, that is the land, water or vegetation is there, then they all will be considered as habitat. Okay, vegetation will also considered as the habitat. Okay, because it is in their particular natural home. Okay, next, land. So land includes the canals, creeks, and water channels. Okay, so even including the reservoirs, rivers, streams, lakes, whether artificial or natural. Okay, so I told you in the last slide that in the act it is mentioned that whether it is artificial or natural, they both will be counted. Okay, but if you are growing and culturing in the laboratory in vitro condition, then it will be not count. Okay, but if there is a lake, like I want to give you one example of the Sanjay Lake in the Delhi. So it is uh, artificially created by the government. So this is actually habitat. Of course, it is created by the created artificially, but it is providing the natural kind of the habitat for the some animals and birds. Okay, so that's why this will be called as the wild. Okay, or land for that animals or the wild animals. Okay, so artificial or natural, including the marshes, wetlands, and also include the boulders and rocks if they are existing there. Okay, they are present there. So boulder, rocks, even including as we had seen the water channels, reservoir, rivers, streams, lakes, all are considered in the land. Okay, so land itself doesn't mean that only terrestrial region. If terrestrial region also includes have some water bodies, so they will be considered in the land as well. Okay, so this is the meaning of the wildlife, and there are some special terms which we have discussed. Okay, according to the Wildlife Protection Act, which were given there. Okay, thank you.